welcome to episode number 6 of the Let's Go Comic Show. My name is Justin.
I'm Matt.
We are so excited to come to you today to talk about one of the most amazing films to ever be put before man's eyes.
Excellent.
Excellent. Just kidding.
Excellent.
Not really. But anyways, we're here to talk about Logan and some other mutiny fun things. But before we even do that, we have to invite our good friend into the X-Mansion.
Not just a good friend, my friend.
A rad friend.
A rad friend.
We got rad friends. Rad friends, rad friends.
All right. We have our expert here. His name is Tom Mays. Tom Mays, please introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, comic fans, glad to be here today.
Tom, you're a big nerd, right?
I am a huge nerd, physically and mentally.
So, you have to prove it to us. What, especially as it comes to like X-Men, what's your favorite like time with the X-Men, your favorite maybe stories, artist, and era?
Well, I grew up on X-Men of the 80s, so between 1982 and 1988, I was total comic nerd. I bought comics every week, week in and week out. Where I grew up in San Mateo, there's a little shop called Pacific Comics run by this old hippie named Tibor. And Tibor would give you...
Tibor?
Yeah, Tibor. And he had one long pinky fingernail that
Oh.
used to scare the crap out of us as little kids.
I
But
wonder what he did with that.
I have no clue. Page Comics, I'm sure.
Oh, there
was
we
the
go.
deal.
Sure, yeah. That's
But in my opinion, I grew up in one of the best times to love comics because they were 65 cents,
Oh, there you go.
which meant I could take my $5 or $6 and get walk away with 8 or 9 books every
Yeah.
week, which was awesome. And so the X-Men used to not be a regular. It would only come out like every couple of months. And then John Byrne came along and the John Byrne era started, and that's what really kicked off my X-Men fandom.
Yeah. I read a lot of John Byrne X-Men only because they would reprint them in this comic called X-Men Classic. Or I don't know if it was Classic X-Men or X-Men
It was
Classic.
something like that.
But they would just get newer artists to do the covers. But I read a lot of that, and it was confusing because I didn't know. I just thought it was like, Classic X-Men. This is the best X-Men we got. And so it would not make sense to the like uncanny title that they had. So, cool. I think John Byrne it was Chris Claremont that
Chris
was writing
Claremont
with
was the
them,
main
right?
writer, and
Okay.
then there was some overlap, and John Byrne took over for a while.
Oh, okay.
But John Byrne also brought in a lot of storylines that was primarily his idea. He introduced Alpha Flight.
Okay.
He really helped develop the Hellfire Club
Yeah.
back when it was cool before they kind of ruined it with the movies. The Dark Phoenix, the whole death of Jean Grey
Yeah.
was very much a co-writing thing between him and Chris Claremont. So
Okay.
he brought a lot of great stuff.
And
Yeah.
Chris Claremont, he is what I remember from early 90s stuff, too.
Yeah.
So I didn't catch 80s stuff as much, but man, once they got to that extreme,
Well, he was on the,
Chris
the
Claremont,
relaunch
Jim
from
Lee,
90.
all of
Yeah.
those guys.
Yeah. And that was sort of when I was on my way out. I mean,
Yeah.
I would have loved to have kept going with it, but I had to work, and comics doubled in price in
Yeah.
1989. They got really expensive all of a sudden, and then all the extra X titles started coming out.
Yeah.
There were a lot.
You had X Force, and you had
New
Excalibur.
New Mutants ended, became X-Force.
Right.
Yeah, Excalibur. And
I liked
Everything.
Excalibur. Generation X.
Generation X
That was actually
different than
later.
Excalibur, though. Excalibur
later,
was
though.
Excalibur was the British one.
yeah.
Correct.
Generation-
Nightcrawler was a part of that.
Generation X was like the teen version.
Yeah.
And
don't know
then-
why I always go for those
I thought
books.
that's what X-Force
That's so
was.
funny.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So now X-Force is like the Wetworks type of team for the mutants. Anyways, it got X-Factor was the original team.
Right, and you had X-Men, you had Uncanny X-Men. So you had those different issues. I remember that sweet hologram foil cover for, what was it, like issue 300 or something like that.
It was like every other issue.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, it's
They
issue
started over.
77.
Bishop was there. Cyclops' hair was out of the top
Forge.
of his costume.
Forge had a
Some
red
dumb
bandana for
reason.
no
Yeah.
reason. A lot of bandanas, a lot of buckles, a lot of pouches.
A lot of big hair.
A lot of
Gambit's
big hair.
inexplicable costume. Nothing makes sense about that thing.
So we will sometimes refer to. We have only done it a few times, but we've labeled things X-Men confusing. It doesn't have to apply to the X-Men, but I think post the Byrne Claremont era, it became X-Men confusing. Like,
I would agree.
what the heck is going on? And that carried on into the films.
Yes.
Because the
Yeah.
films make 100%
Oh,
no
man.
sense.
If you try to figure out continuity in anything, even as we get into Logan, there is no way
Yeah.
to connect. Yeah.
It's like
it's just frustration waiting to happen.
yeah, the first two X-Men movies, it's like, okay, they work together. Once you get into the third one, you're like, wait. And then after that, it's like no one cares anymore.
Yeah, it's bad enough to change the continuity from the comics. I mean, you got to give them some
Yeah.
artistic license. But when they can't even keep the continuity within their own movies,
Yeah.
like the Wolverine appearance in X-Men Apocalypse is a great example.
Yeah.
It just you just stop caring after.
And
a while.
they'll say that, oh, well, it was because of a dark
alternate universe.
Yeah, oh gosh, what was it?
Oh, they altered the timeline.
Days of
Future Past.
But still, it's like.
But then what actually still happened? Because was the Wolverine, James Mangold's last film, before Logan, is that still in this continuity, or is that old continuity? Because at the end of that, he freaking got his metal adamantium claws cut off. Mm-hmm. Old man, sorry, not Old Man Logan, my bad. But Logan, there they are.
Yeah.
In all their glory.
Professor X and Magneto meet him in the airport at the end. Have you seen the Wolverine?
Yes.
So remember, they roll up. He's like, oh, hey guys. And
that's to save the past.
The past. So the next movie is Days of Future Past. And all of a sudden, like, whoa, why is everybody in super techno, like, metal suits? Like, it felt like they jumped, like, 20 years into the future. I don't know. Anyways.
It took a long time to convince him to help out.
Yeah.
Apparently.
He's like, no,
is that the same reason that C-3PO can't remember who Darth Vader was as a kid?
Yes.
Because I get all the memory stuff mixed up.
All of that's
probably
midichlorians. We just blame those just in general.
All right, so let's jump into the movie. But first, let's talk about the teaser, the Deadpool 2 teaser.
Should we say spoilers before we go anywhere further?
Yeah, we are jumping.
We're still
off
only
the
like
spoiler.
a week out.
We are on a skyscraper of spoilers, but we will. If you're listening to this, you've probably already seen Logan, and we're going to spoil the crap out of it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Consider your crap spoiled.
Consider your crap spoiled. Man, if your crap didn't smell already, now it's spoiled.
Now it
crap.
does.
No. That's the worst. So, all right. So Deadpool. Tom, as a guest, what were your thoughts on the Deadpool?
Well, I didn't love the first Deadpool movie. I know a lot of people were super excited about it.
Yeah.
I agree with something Matt was saying on the last podcast. I loved the angry teenage girl, and I loved Colossus because he was always one of my favorite characters. I thought they finally did him right.
Yeah.
But I was never a huge Deadpool guy. That being said, I thought it was pretty good. Mm-hmm. I just didn't love it the way a lot of people do. So I wasn't super pumped for the trailer, but it certainly sets up exactly what I think Deadpool fans want to see.
Yeah.
And a lot of his butt. Which
A lot of. Well, there's a minute long of it. There's an extended scene with Stan Lee online. So
with Stan Lee's butt too.
Ryan Reynolds really wants to show everybody his butt. Like that's what I've.
It's in his writer. He's like green M&Ms and butts.
Yeah.
so I don't know, random.
Oh man.
I like that it was in the beginning of the film because if that was the end credit scene, that would have been
horrible.
Tonally off. Like you're just kind of gut punch, gut slash maybe, I don't know. And then you go into this like Ryan Reynolds like acting silly. But when it came up, I had no idea what it was. But as soon as you saw the guy with the hoodie, though, I was like, "Oh, okay, that's Deadpool." Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there was nothing like leading into it either. It was just kind of like a cold open kind of thing, which I thought it was kind of cool. Like I like that they purposefully. I mean, content of the teaser aside, it was fine. It was a teaser.
Yeah.
Just they're doing something different because everyone goes in like, and everyone's like kind of like outraged and perplexed when there's not a post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you have one?
Yeah.
And the guys, why do we need one? Like, let's just
first
do this.
150 years of making movies, we seem to be okay without them.
They seem to do all right.
The best one ever is though the Ferris Bueller one, which Deadpool
mocked, copied,
which was pretty freaking great.
I will say this, just on a side little note about Deadpool, I have found is I loved it, had a great time in the theater. It does not stand up to multiple viewings as well as I thought it would.
Okay.
I watched it again like later because my wife hadn't seen it, and we watched it and we like laughed, but it wasn't nearly the same level. And I think that's just something to be said. Like there's some comedic bits in there that still stay funny, but then there's other ones like, oh yeah, once you get past the shock of it, it's not really.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of what makes you laugh the first time is the shock value, and then once you know it happens, it's just not as funny. Then it's just swearing.
Yeah, I wonder how he would work because they said last week that after Deadpool 2, they're going to do X-Force, and it's going to be Deadpool, Cable, and I don't know whoever else is going to be it. So I wonder how he works.
If they have Domino and Deadpool 2 to pull her over.
No, that's true. So they'll probably bring her into it too. So that's just interesting how he will work in a team dynamic where not everyone breaks the fourth wall. So do they recognize, like, who are you talking to? Mm-hmm. And he can just be like, oh, sorry, guys, or whatever. Yeah. I'm not a huge Deadpool fan either. I can appreciate him in, like, when he's there. Like, I've seen him on, I've seen him in a few comics, but I've never purchased a Deadpool comic. But he was on the Spider-Man cartoon, Ultimate Spider-Man.
Something like that.
Yeah, there was and he would pop up on it, and he had a good dynamic with the Spider-Man character. So, yeah, I'm not against the character, but I I was actually surprised it did as well it did. So he's huge. People resonate with him. Like fans love him. Like Deadpool and Harley Quinn are two like wow, they hit.
Harley Quinn's a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
I need for you to explain to me someday why Harley Quinn is somebody to be admired. As far as I can tell,
it's because she's changed into something else from when she was first introduced in the animated series, though.
Yeah. Once the Arkham games came out, she kind of transitioned into a different type of like. There is a whole different like.
She's basically DC's Deadpool.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, she breaks the fourth wall too and things like that. So
which is fine, and I think. Again, we don't have to get into it, but I think with those types of characters, when literally anything is possible, like they don't have to stick to any boundaries really for it. I think the Jurassic Park kind of principle needs to apply. When you can, but you never stop to ask the question.
Oh,
if you should.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, what?
You need to apply that sometimes. When there's like literally like the world is your oyster, nothing's holding you back. Even the fourth wall, like nope, not there.
I thought you were gonna say
like, hey, that's when like holding back and stuff maybe can get a little more.
A little less
comedic
is
punch.
more.
Yeah,
I thought he was
that's my
gonna say
opinion.
Jeff Goldblum should be Harley Quinn.
Well, there's that too.
Right?
That is the Jurassic Park principle.
Yeah.
Why not?
Just put Jeff Goldblum in there.
Put Jeff Goldblum in it. That will make it awesome. So, I like the Superman music. I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
It was funny seeing a phone booth. Like, what the heck?
And on the phone booth, Nathan
There
Summers.
wasn't even a phone booth in Superman like 77. Like, he went to go change in one. There was like not one there. Remember? And he had to like run through like the revolving door. Like, and that's like almost 40 years ago. So,
on the outside of that phone booth, the graffiti is Nathan Summers coming soon.
yeah, Cable.
Yep.
And then, and did you catch any of those like little jokes?
No.
I didn't understand why it had the music from True Romance at the end.
Yeah.
But
I don't know
have
if
you seen True Romance?
I don't know if that's meant to have any deeper meaning or not.
I don't know. So anyways, I liked it. So they had the Firefly movie posters,
I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
which was I think it was just referencing his girlfriend.
Oh, is that what it was?
She was in Firefly. So
Well, and it's like a cult following kind of
Firefly's
thing.
awesome.
Yeah.
yeah. You know, I only saw Serenity, so I didn't see the show.
It's worth watching.
Yeah, that's what I hear, man. My cred is not as deep as
You have
ours.
homework, my friend.
I got a lot of homework. So okay, Deadpool episode 2, whatever they're gonna call it, Deadpool 2, coming soon. Maybe we'll see it.
Yeah. We're going to see it.
chances
Come
are.
on. We're going to see it.
Tom's not gonna go.
Well, I'll still go, but I won't gotta go.
He won't gotta go. There you go.
Hey, look at
Hey,
him.
good transition. Okay, so into Logan. I wrote a review for it, and I gave it a gotta go, but I wanted to explain the gotta go because
And that can be found at Let's Go Cast.
letsgocast.com. Just look under like I think blogs or reviews, and you'll see it under there. Leave a review and some good stuff. So I'm giving it a gotta go based on I think the spectacle and the historical significance of Hugh Jackman being Wolverine, regardless of what X-Men movie he's been a part of. I think Hugh Jackman's he's always showed up. He's always been good. He's been like the good, consistent part of the movie. So on it being his last movie and it being, I don't think it was a terrible movie, but I have some like grievances with it, which we'll get into. But I think overall, it's a gotta go. Check it out, especially if you like the X-Men, if you like Hugh Jackman, if you like the genre of comic book movies, go see it. And so that's where that came from.
Yeah. Well, I would even say I would qualify it even outside of those parameters. I think it's just like I know I joked about it with the X like little thing earlier. Excellent, but I really do think it's just an excellent film. Like it's just really well done in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really poignant. I feel like they used their opportunity to like explore like kind of some deep stuff as I was thinking about it, considering it days after seeing it. I was like, like there's actually some good stuff to dig into there that isn't always there. I don't think has to always be there, to be honest. Like it's okay to just have a fun movie. This was definitely not a fun movie, but I think, well, it was fun in some ways. But I think that's just something that I thought about coming out of it is I don't even know if I have to limit it to just recommending it to comic book fans or Wolverine fans or Hugh Jackman fans. I feel like they took something that could have purely been spectacle, like this is my last time, like it's going to be, Expendables 5, like, and
Right.
just stuff's going to blow up and it's just going to be fun. But, like, I really felt like they used it to say some cool things.
I would agree. I think it's a great movie for people that are even not normally comic book fans. The same way that I'm a big fan of the movie Unforgiven, the Clint Eastwood Western.
Yeah.
And it's not even really a Western. It transcends all of that, right? It's about, are you trapped by your past? Do you still have a choice to change things? Can your reputation be so big that you can't ever really avoid it? How does it change you when you actually kill somebody? I think those are all questions that they answer. And it really is almost paces itself like a great Western too.
Oh yeah.
So I would say anybody that's a fan
You're talking about Logan.
Logan,
Yes.
yeah.
It's
Anybody
exactly
that's a
Western.
fan of great dramas, anyone that's a fan of a Quentin Tarantino film that likes the suspense and their action. I loved how limited the CGI was, even though a lot of those fights were enhanced.
Yeah.
They didn't feel that way. They felt very visceral and physical. I felt like people were really in danger. And you don't get that from comic book movies a lot of times these days.
Yeah.
No, and you don't feel like in a lot of comic book movies, and again, I don't think it's like every comic book movie needs to be rated R, so you avoid this, but a lot of times you don't feel the impact of actions as much. And I would say that for Wolverine. It's always felt like Wolverine in movies, like you see his fist against someone's chest, and it's like, yeah, I just stabbed that guy, and you're gonna have to take his word for it.
Right.
To where I'm like, that's never how Wolverine used his claws in the comic books. There
Yeah.
were like limbs falling off. He's
Yeah.
chopping things up. He has 6 knives
Yeah.
Yeah.
attached to his hands. Like, what are you going to do? Like, that's when it makes sense. Like, yes, throw him in a rated R film if it makes sense then to chop stuff up and use those like you would actually do it.
Do you ever make salad with those things? Like they're like having an X-Men barbecue, like those Jim Lee drawings from the 90s.
But he can use it
He's just
to
like,
do a really over-the-top middle finger gesture, though. So
Oh, that was terrible. That was the worst part of that one movie. But I agree with like what you guys are saying. You kind of want that you always wanted to see, and I don't think it makes you bloodthirsty, but you do want to see Wolverine use his claws, and they're like what you're used to. And there was parts where he like stabs some dude in the face, and you see it come out of the cheek and then back into like above the skull, and you're like, ah!
They took advantage of all the skull angles.
Yeah, they're like,
for sure.
how many ways
How would
can we slice a skull? Oh my gosh.
there's definitely some good reactions like that in the theater. Like,
Oh yeah,
"Whoa!"
we're like, ah! Like I think you just got pumped even in that first scene because going into the movie,
Dude, yes.
I think you almost felt like he's not Wolverine. He doesn't want to Wolverine it up anymore. And then just in that scene where he's with the gangbangers, he just opens up on him, even though he's like, "Don't do this, guys. You don't want this."
Yeah, leave the car
which I
alone.
like because
Like-
younger Wolverine would be like, "I'm cutting your legs right off."
Right.
And so I like that he was like, "Come on, guys, don't put me there." And then when he went there, it was just like, "Oh crap."
Yeah, when they start kicking the crap out of him, you just see him just something snaps
Yeah.
in him. And you see that I think every time in the film. What's really great is they did a good job of showing like how like broken down he was, just like physically.
Yeah.
Like he's limping the
Yeah.
whole time. He has
Well-
like scars. He has. It looks like
Did he
I felt
incur
like
the
it
limp
was
from
painful.
that beatdown?
No, he had a limp like from
Okay,
the
I
get
couldn't.
go.
I didn't because I don't remember. I was just like, wow,
So to
why
show
is
him
he
like
limping?
he's getting out of that car limping on the one
Okay.
side, and so you're like, wow, like this is like from the get go, you're like, this isn't the young like Buck anymore. But then you see the moments where, which for me is a core thing for Wolverine, is Berserker. Like
Yeah.
he needs to like have that moment where he goes crazy.
where he snaps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I felt like they did that like 3 or 4 times, and the times outside of that, he's really like I almost felt like the pain for him watching him just try to walk
Yeah.
most of the time.
I also thought they did a great job with handling the physicality of X-23 of Laura, the little girl.
Yeah. She
Because
was great.
what I didn't want
That
it
was
to be was
incredible.
the Yoda Tasmanian devil kind of thing, right? Where it's just spin around. I mean, she didn't fight the same way that Wolverine did. Her style was different because she was small. It was different because she had the claws in her feet.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Oh gosh.
And then just they used it like she was taught to fight the way she was, and I thought it looked totally realistic, and I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. So I was going to go back to those gang members. Sorry. The moment some dude pops knives out of his hand, I'm
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
There's like
you
no
don't
way to go
continue
back.
to
You know
engage.
what? Hey man, I think we're gonna take this guy.
Yeah.
Like he's already cut off your
And
buddy's
that's
hand.
after you shot him with the
Yeah.
shotgun and he stood back up.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I know
was
you
tough
need
neighborhood.
that. You need that for movies, but it was just.
That was a great opening scene, though.
Oh,
like,
it was,
You
yeah.
knew, like, oh, okay, this is what we're getting into.
Yeah.
Got it.
I love that idea of. I wish more like superhero movies would open up with some type of like battle, because we know who you are.
Yeah.
Just give us a little bit of that, like, oh, you're Batman's taking out, like, the Clue Master really quick. Bam.
You're joining the story as it's already happened. You're in media res, is that the term for it? Where you're kind of coming in the middle of the story.
Yeah, all I know is I'm tired of origin stories.
Yeah.
Most of us that go to these fans are fans anyways.
Yeah.
But even if you're not, you don't need to know the very beginning of every single character before they're introduced.
Yeah.
So I love throwing us right into the action.
Yeah, it was good. Like, we all get Wolverine's claws. They kind of gave us a little bit of a Wolverine origin just by showing how the other people were getting there. So I'm saying if you never watched a Wolverine movie, you'd kind of get like, oh, okay, they're doing the same thing to this little girl that they did to him.
Right.
So,
right.
But, so what you guys think about Professor X? Let's jump into Professor X. Charles Xavier.
I'm of two minds of it. I'm going to be honest.
Right.
It's weird to have Professor X like drop the F-bomb and stuff like that, because you always see him as kind of like the have it together, kind of strong, proper, like, a good example. Almost, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's kind of the sturdy rock that like people can go to and fro. Wolverine is like maybe he's a good guy, maybe he's a bad guy. Like he kind of goes, kind of walks that line. And I would never think of Professor X walking that line. But in the context of the movie, like I was completely on board with crazy, broken Professor X. Like when you're walking in for this purpose, when he walks in on that first scene and he's like rolling around, like talking to himself and like babbling, that again is kind of a wake up of like, oh crap, like this is the scenario. Like when you look at it, and this is kind of getting a little bit to like the deeper stuff that came to mind for me, is it's really a look at like the weight of our actions, but then also just like mortality and how it kind of finds all of us.
Yeah.
Like Professor X and Wolverine, two of like you would think the most like untouchable mutants and people like in the world, right? Like you never see like Professor X, they kind of make problems for him in other movies, but it never really feels like he's not going to make it out of it.
Yeah.
Like he's this super powerful. But
Well, he did disintegrate in part 3.
We're not going to talk
Well,
about
what he should learn is to never use Cerebro, because every time he does that, somebody captures
Apparently,
him.
yeah,
exactly. Well, that's what that big room was. It felt like that big team was anti-Cerebro.
It was like the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was really interesting. That whole thing was like, even if you have these powers, even if you have this, eventually you're going to break. Mm-hmm. And what are you going to use that time you have left to do? Are you going to use it to go off on a boat in the middle of nowhere to just, like die eventually away from everybody? Are you going to take it into your own hands and use an adamantium bullet and put an end to it? Mm-hmm. Or are you going to allow yourself to get pulled into like leaving a legacy with other people that you can actually make a difference and make sure even if you're done and you've made the choices you've made, you're empowering them in their journey? And I thought for me, like that's the biggest thing, just like, wow, like that was a really honest look that most movies in general, and definitely not comic book movies, take it like, it almost felt honestly like we're in the middle. Like if it's your thing, Lent, the season of Lent, like Ash Wednesday was last week leading up to Easter. And if you ever follow the church calendar, like growing up or anything like that, it's really a look at like an honest look of like, you're going to die. Like, like all of our lives, like eventually end. And it's taking an honest look of the phrases, from dust you came
ashes
in.
to ashes, dust to dust.
Yeah. And to ashes, and to dust you will return. And I'm like, dude, that's what felt like what Wolverine was like. From dust you came and to dust you will return.
Yeah.
What are you going to do in between those two things?
Yeah.
So for that, I could appreciate what they did with Professor X, even if that's, not my Professor X, like, that's definitely a very, very different take on Professor X.
Not my Professor X.
But it was enjoyable. For me, it was enjoyable for what they wanted to do with it. I was good with Professor X and how he was portrayed.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they could have been a little more creative with it rather than just being F-bombs. I mean, he is an extremely educated guy, right? So, I mean, he could have broken down, desperate, all those things I totally agree with. I think, language-wise, they just could have come up with something a little more creative. I don't know what that was because I'm not the most educated guy.
Well, his first F-off to Wolverine I thought was pretty great because it felt like a callback to X-Men First Class.
Right. Yeah, with his little cameo there. Yeah. And, I think that's why it kind of works is because he is so educated. It's so anti who he is, who we know him to be. Now that he's so broken down, and at the end, like it's kind of like when you're as your parents get older and they become more ornery. You're like, what? I'm just gonna say whatever I want. I no longer have to be Charles Xavier. I'm just Charles. I'm Chuck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
that's what it felt
Wheels.
like.
I'm Wheels Xavier.
And to see that's the first time I've ever seen. Maybe it's just my problem for not seeing it before, but it felt very real. The danger of Professor X's powers.
Oh yeah.
That I would agree. I thought they did a great job with that.
Because I had never thought of oh no, if something happens, he's going to take out a lot a people.
Yeah. Well, that's what it said. He killed.
Yeah, it was
seven members of the X-Men?
Heavily implied that he had,
And some other
that he
people.
killed. Yeah.
So
Yeah, another thing I really liked about the movie is that they didn't satisfy my desire to know what happened to all the other mutants.
yeah.
Yeah, they're just they're gone.
I love the fact
luck
that
with
they
that.
kept that hanging
Yeah.
and left it to us to wonder about.
They actually said that there's a deleted scene because they had some type of
Yeah, they were going to show the sequence, but then they decided it was just better to not
I agree. I
do
think
that.
it
And
was
I'm
a good
like,
choice.
yeah, you let people fill in that blank. I feel like that feels way more ominous that way. Where you're like, oh crap, what happened in Westchester?
Yeah.
because then it becomes too much of Professor X's story too,
Right.
and this is Logan's story. And I like all the stuff with Professor X, but I do feel it does kind of take away from his overall story.
You feel like his presentation here takes away from the overall story.
Just because
I feel like it's a way better way for him to go out than in X3.
well, yeah. I mean, I guess going into the movie, I mean, he was in it, but I mean, he could have been dead too. I mean, that's his only connection.
Sure.
I guess it's maybe I don't really have a good, well thought out thought. I mean, I can see Professor X is his connection to his old life, and then X-23 is his connection to his new life. So he's kind of as one part transitions out, here's where the future goes. And so I see that. I just if they would have gone into too much backstory in Professor X, it would have been this is Wolverine's story. I like
sure.
I don't, to talk into some things I didn't like. I don't like how Professor X died. I think that you knew he was going to die, but I was super bummed that it was this imposter, fake Wolverine guy. So spoilers, I didn't like X-24.
Yeah, I
We
didn't
already
either.
said spoilers,
Not at
it's
all.
fine.
Yeah. I'm just X-24. I did not like.
I was neutral to the idea of X-24. I actually thought that scene was really great. Where you had Charles pouring his heart out of I don't deserve this good moment we just had because of what I did, which we still, again, that's intriguing. What was
Yeah.
it? What did you do? And then that sadness of the last thing he saw was Wolverine killing him.
Yeah, and
It was just I don't know. It was impactful. I mean, it
and
wasn't
that's
my
not
favorite
the send off
thing
I wanted, because I loved everything he was saying, and then it felt like, oh no, some dude's gonna come in there and get him. So I didn't think it was gonna be the Wolverine doppelganger guy. I thought it was just gonna be one of that one guy, I can't think of his name, but Pierce, his crew of dudes that was gonna come in and I thought that was him. And then it was wait, oh no, it's some weird clone guy. That took me out of this special moment for him, and then he ends up being the guy who kills him. I was like, I think I would have rather Pierce killed Professor X.
I would agree.
Yeah.
That would have made Pierce a stronger villain, and then you have a good I don't know, you could have a better confrontation between him and Logan. So that I didn't like. And then when X-24 came back again, that's where I was done. I was like, are you kidding me, dude?
That last battle.
It just felt like big bad guy it felt like Doomsday. Oh, he's fighting something.
You had to get to the boss.
Yeah, it was the boss, and I was like, they could have had a different. I would have rather they had these guys shoot him with degeneration mutant pills from X3. That would have been better than him fighting this guy again. I was like, oh man.
Did you think it was too on the nose then? Because it felt like it fits with the themes of Wolverine kind of fighting
Himself.
who he was and who he could have been if he didn't have the, at least the somewhat moral compass that he does have. Because that's basically it, right? They just took out, they talked about it, they just took out any
morals,
any compassion, anything like that. Because he's already pretty gruff and doesn't always do the right thing. And so you kind of have this, this is what he could be if it was just this unbridled, he was just berserker all the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of.
I felt like it was worthwhile. It's a little on the nose, but
yeah,
I get what they were trying to do. With
I would have been better with it if he didn't come back again. I was like, oh, he's back, because that's what I was like. I don't want to see him again, because I was actually dang, they took him out. Okay, they got him. They split him in half, and that was it. So when he came back, it was I would have rather had a different standoff against Pierce and his guys, and the kids making it to.
I would have been okay with no standoff at all.
Yeah.
Like it could have been just, Wolverine got them to where they needed to go. But then at that point was so broken down, his body continues to just deteriorate from the adamantium being inside of him. I mean, he could have just died, and I think that would have been okay without the big boss battle.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but I do.
That's
think,
why Tom's on the show.
Yeah. Hey,
I'm just glad it wasn't Sabretooth. Can we just agree that
I would have loved to have seen Sabretooth in this movie.
I would have been
not
okay
to
with
be
that.
not to be the guy that kills him, but here's going back to that first Wolverine, that X-Men Origins movie. That was a big thing of trash juice, but
it was horrible.
I liked Liev Schreiber as Sabretooth.
I would agree. I would be curious to see what he could do with better writing / directing.
I don't have a problem with him as Sabretooth.
Yeah.
I'm just glad, or even the Sabretooth character. But again, talking about being on the nose, that would have been just a little bit too, hey, here's your arch nemesis.
No,
But he
I
hasn't
think it would
had
have
that
been cool.
in any of the.
I think it would have been cool just to bring him back in some capacity.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, I'm kind of against like the big boss fight in general.
This is
like
why Tom's not coming back. No.
One and done, baby. One and done.
Well, it makes sense. Old man Logan, you got old man comic. Fan. I understand why you're bringing it up, so.
No.
Can I also say I'm really glad that they reestablished Caliban, who was actually a minor character, but one of my favorites in my time period of the X-Men.
From the Morlocks, right?
From the Morlocks,
Yeah.
exactly. So at least they brought the right personality. That Caliban they had in X-Men Apocalypse is just...
Yeah.
Wait, Caliban was...
Yeah, he was in
I've-
X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah,
I
he was-
have to confess, I have not gone out of my way to watch that movie yet, just because it
you
looks
haven't
so
watched it.
horrible.
Yeah, he's in it. It's just Stephen Merchant, way better. Like you actually care.
Their dynamic between him
Yeah.
and Logan was great.
I really like that, and so when he sacrifices himself, it actually felt like there was weight
like it
to
meant
it.
something.
Yes.
Yeah, so I really like that because Steve Merchant did a good job, and he just made you like him from the get go. Just his banter with Logan.
Yep.
That's the perfect type of foil to Logan's personality. Is this kind of like snarky, like snarky. He's kind of like Alfred to kind of to an extent.
totally.
You know? So it worked really well. So yeah, that's right. He was a Morlock, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was one of the original ones.
Okay.
Yeah. Was he the leader?
Very.
No, he was... the leader was a gal named Callisto.
Yeah.
And she used him to help track down all the mutants that were sort of like lost and abandoned, because that's his power.
Wasn't Callisto in X3?
Yes, they combined like her and Psylocke and something
Yeah.
else into one character,
Yeah,
and it was
that's
not
right.
good.
Yeah. I understand in the comics, past my time, that she ended up getting redone with like a whole bunch of tentacles for arms too. That wasn't the Callisto that I knew. Callisto I knew was just like a badass fighter. She sort of had a little bit of healing powers too, but it was mostly just her leadership that made her the head of the Morlocks.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
That was a pretty good storyline, actually. If you want to go back and those X-Men classics, the first ones where she and Storm end up then having to have a hand-to-hand fight to determine
Nice.
who's going to lead the Morlocks, it's a pretty good storyline.
That's cool.
See,
I
there you
also
go.
thought it was cool with Caliban, like the way. I'm not super familiar with him in the comics, but the way they represented his powers is almost like a heightened sense of smell,
Yeah.
to where he was like, I can smell like something in you, like poisoning you.
Yep.
And I just thought it was cool that it seemed like a natural extension of something that was just part of his DNA.
Yeah.
Oh, that was cool.
Yeah. No, that
liked
was
it.
good. Yeah, I'm glad you brought
Makeup
that up.
was great.
Because he was somebody
He looked
I
cool.
mentioned that. What was that?
Makeup was great, and he looked.
Oh
cool.
yeah, makeup was great. And
Maybe they'll win an Academy Award for it.
hey, right. Okay,
man.
so speaking of Academy Awards, so a lot of the things that I've seen online for the movie is like it's like The Dark Knight, and it should be nominated for an Academy Award and all this other stuff. And I wouldn't go so far. Like
I feel like those are three different things to address.
I think I still think The Dark Knight's still kind of up there above Logan. I think with a lot of people just feel like they need to have comic book films to be validated by an Academy Award for them to feel like it's serious. And I just think most films I love have never won an award. Like there's been few, but I don't look for like this like validation from like the Academy to go, see, these films are legit. Like that doesn't matter to me. Like I just want to enjoy a film, regardless of who loves it or who doesn't love it. I'm gonna like it because it connected with me in a certain way. Not that if it got one, I wouldn't be upset or complain, but I don't think that's like the benchmark. Like it needs to get an Academy Award because
Totally.
I don't think Logan. If one's gonna win, I don't want it to be Logan because I don't think it was. I don't think it hit all the notes. I don't think it deserves one.
Well, I think that maybe Hugh Jackman's individual performance might be worthy of being recognized. If he got a Best Actor, wouldn't think it would be terrible. We also have a whole year of other movies that's going to come out, but we have no idea what's going on, right? I just think that it's great for the films in general that people are at least talking about it with that level of acceptance and seriousness. That might get somebody like, my wife, who would never normally see any comic book movie, might at least be interested in going out to go see it.
We'll see. Now, has critics been saying that? Because I've seen a lot of like fan people like making that type of remarks.
I feel like critics are giving it credit for feeling like it kind of doesn't get stuck in the genre. I don't know if critics are like hailing it as like the next best thing, though.
Yeah, because
it does have like a really great Rotten Tomatoes score. I wanted to say last time I checked it was like 95, 96%.
Which is great.
Which, I mean, isn't the end all be all, but is pretty good for a comic book film to get that good of a rating.
Yeah.
I think people are recognizing that there's good performances. I think they're recognizing that the story doesn't feel like this rehash of every other superhero story.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen anything from any professional, though, being like talking about any awards.
Yeah, actually, on Roger Ebert's site, which is still, even though he's been dead for a few years now, still great movie reviews on that site. Brian Tallarico, who's one of their main reviewers, gave it 4 stars and talked about the fact that it should be thought of as classics. He actually even made the same comparison that I did to Unforgiven, the Clint Eastwood movie. So there's some talk about it.
It definitely has that Western film. Have you seen the remake 310 to Yuma? James Mangold did that as well.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's a good movie.
That was James Mangold as well?
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, I think it was shot very well. It looked great. I feel like it looks better than the Wolverine, and James Mangold did that as well. I feel like on that movie, it was probably like a studio like job of like, here's what we need to make. Where I think with Logan, he was actually allowed to be James Mangold and make that movie.
Yeah. Well, him and I can't recall the name of the writer, but the writer also, like, I think a recent interview, like after the movie release, was like, yeah, this experience was like, we got to do whatever we wanted, basically. Like, we didn't to where like even he was like, yeah, this was better than the Wolverine. Like, and they both did like that same movie. Which, I mean, that's fine. I would agree. Like, that movie, I think, had some good moments, but then kind of went off the rails at the end there.
Yeah, there was some... That was a bummer, that movie. The way that went down. So, I was going to say, some of the stuff that bugged me, it's probably necessary, but, like, they had the family that they helped him save the horses and stuff, and then they hung out. And I actually liked the... Professor X was like, he needed that final, like, nice time. And he, this is what it could be like, Logan. I thought that was good. Yeah. But then I was like, oh man, they're going to kill the family off. Like, it was so expected that I was hoping it didn't happen. Yeah. Like, I was almost hoping that the guy from ER, Eric LaSalle, could have actually fought off one of those dudes with a shotgun blast. It could have been like,
he bust out a bunch of powers he didn't know had.
Well, not that. I just was hoping he could have defended his house.
Yeah.
And,
but he did kind of. He had that final hit that kind of saved Wolverine.
Yeah, but he was then he tried to. Then he tried to like shoot Wolverine too because So I just would have, because it felt like that was kind of shoehorned in there. That whole area. It's like, oh, you're setting us up to take them out, and I wish they didn't get taken out. Because it would have been a good, like, oh, it's not the usual trope of, like, the Wanderer saves these people, then they get taken out. It just didn't.
They used it to explain the genetic modified corn being the root cause of all the mutants losing their powers, too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And that, I was like, I kind of loved how wacky sci-fi that was. Like, because usually X-Men stuff, it's pretty straightforward. Like, how do we control mutants? We get rid of them. Or we put them in camps. Or we brand them. Or, do you know what I mean? Yeah, and so that's always been the thing. And so I was like, that is a really crazy sci-fi kind of way of doing it. But I appreciated that it was a different thing of like, oh, crap, like, could you do that? Like, you find a way to, like, everyone's going to eat this stuff. And if they have a mutant gene, it's going to suppress it. And then we have complete control over what mutants are created from here on out. Like, I thought that was a pretty key moment. But I would agree, like...
I just didn't want the family to be...
Seeing that coming a mile away, honestly, like, undercut any, like, kind of impact for me, like, watching the family die. Like, it was, like, sad, and I was like, dang it.
I was like, don't kill the son.
Like,
and
oh, no,
that hurt. That,
you know?
That just hurt.
So I just want to double check. You're saying the government doesn't actually control us through genetically modified corn?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that probably actually happens.
I grow my own corn.
Chemtrails? Maybe?
That's why you're on here, man. You know more than I do about this stuff.
I've got some reading to do,
That's why my powers have not manifested.
Dang it. I knew that's why that happened.
That's, man. My mutant powers are terrible, so.
You never see me and the Blob in the same room.
Oh, there you go. Hey! Okay, so the other part I didn't like was the bullet. The adamantium bullet.
Yeah. Which
that-
was a callback.
To the first one where he, remember he gets shot in the head.
I felt like that was them redeeming the use of that bullet.
Oh man, sometimes it's just
Instead of
forget.
like, see, if you get shot with this, it's just going to take your memories
But
away.
no one-
it's going to blow off half of your freaking head.
Yeah, people did not like that, and I felt even bring it back into the story. I was like, man, that was stupid. And then she just happens to find a gun where that bullet works, and it just, I think that him dying naturally due to adamantium would have just been like the stronger thing. Just, I don't think the bullet needed to be there.
Yeah.
Like him living recklessly was enough to be distraught that what can you do? I'm unkillable. You can drop a tree on me. I'm probably gonna be okay. Eventually, yeah.
Well, that's the other problem with X-24 in general, because if you believe the way they set it up, there's no way Wolverine would have survived even a short fight with them, because he's a superior. X-24 is Wolverine's superior in every single way, so there's no way he would have survived even. So there's sort of no point in
I feel like
bringing
it's
him
kind
in.
of a classic like comic book trope of like he's superior to every way, but there's something that none of us can name that enables the original to.
Yeah. Would you say
to
heart?
best him.
Heart.
I was gonna say because he has a heart.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom's back on the show.
I thought it was a Captain Planet reference.
Yeah.
But
Our powers combined. Oh, okay. So talking a little bit about Laura, I thought she was 100% fantastic. I'm not a huge X-23 fan, so I want to make sure we're clear because we've been saying X-24, X-23. Like they don't really call her X-23 except in the
because that whole program was referred to as the X-23 program.
I absolutely loved her, and for a kid, she has to be like 10 or 11, right? Like she was
Maybe younger. Yeah.
maybe younger.
Yeah,
I
she
thought
was really young.
She's on that level.
But it was
of,
incredible.
Of that girl who played 11 on Stranger Things. I was thinking like, man, what a great like little actor.
Yeah, and
into-
she and the fact that you didn't see any of those bigger moments in any of the marketing, like all the marketing stuff, it's like, oh yeah, it's a little girl. Like you kind of see her holding his hand, and you see like the calm moments.
Yeah.
But then when you see her like first unleash on those guys outside of like the silos or whatever, you're like, what?
I think I could be wrong, but I think they even like had a different version of the trailer, because I think there's a scene in the trailer where she walks out of the warehouse the first time, and I think she throws down his gun, and then in the movie she throws down the guy's head. I think it's different.
that could be.
That could
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, I think they actually changed it up for the trailer.
Can't throw
which
down
is better.
heads.
Yeah.
Can't throw down heads in
Which is
trailers.
great
Yeah.
because you have that trick of like not seeing what's happening and just hearing.
Yeah.
And then the outcome of that is her like tossing this dude's head like
Yeah.
at your feet.
Well,
And I
just
like
that-
how the guy wasn't even really surprised either. He was like, here we go.
And the whole time he kind of knew like, okay, we're kind of like, I'd rather try to talk her out of this than us try to take her on head on.
yeah, he knew how dangerous she was.
yeah.
Which was cool.
Which is cool.
Just her scene with him when they were driving in the Jeep when she started driving. I thought all that stuff was really good. I'm like, man, she's
Good.
really like my hope is that it didn't mess her up because she's so young. Like because there's a lot of trauma in that, like recreating a scene like that. Like I don't know how they handle the kids in situations because she did such a good job.
Yeah, I
where,
always wondered that in movies just in general, where they
Yeah,
have
yeah.
little kids facing really serious stuff.
And especially with how non-verbally expressive she was really impressive.
yeah, like her look, she looked like a very angry like older woman at times.
When she started like just chewing him out in Spanish, that
Yeah,
was
that was
wonderful.
Yeah, so just
Such good moments, man.
yeah. So that was another question was like, how do they move forward with her character if they're going to make more of these films? This is like 20 something years off from where she is in the comics. Like in the comics, she's in the current time, the regular.
What if Cable brought her back?
Okay, I'll buy it.
I feel like that's like the only way to do
That's the
it.
only way to do it.
That would make some semblance of sense, but I
Yeah.
think we all know from experience they don't care that much about that.
That's true.
So,
Great if they just left it alone. I mean, it'd be awesome if it just ended
Yeah.
that way.
That's it.
which I'm actually okay with.
But I
too,
would like to see her again. Is what I mean. Like
Yeah.
she was like, I would love to see her in that role again.
But I would
think a lot of
appreciate if
people-
they could show restraint and like we told that story and
Mm-hmm.
that story's done.
Gotcha.
I could appreciate that too if they went down that
Yeah,
road.
I'm fine either way.
They're probably not going to go down the road because they want to make money.
Yeah,
but
because everyone loved her.
I could be okay. Yeah, well, she was fantastic, man. Like, and to think like this was basically like a 3-person movie,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all three were, I mean, because we talked about character-wise, like how we felt about Professor X, like not even touching on Patrick Stewart's performance, which I thought was really, really good.
Yeah.
Like,
That's another thing. He doesn't... Professor X. Like, Patrick Stewart never doesn't show up. He's always good in these movies. That's the thing
that's true.
Is good is he's always good. Ian McKellen's always good. It's everyone else who's just kind of like, oh, that was not good. That was terrible.
Quick aside, have you guys seen Green Room with Patrick Stewart?
No, but
No.
you're the third person to tell me about it, though.
Quick recommendation, all those Let's Go fans. Green Room is a gotta go.
Is it?
Keep
There you go.
the kids out of the room.
Keep the
but it's a
kids
gotta
out of the
go.
I hear it's pretty gnarly, but I heard it's really
Gotta
good.
go out of the room.
Yeah, it's
And that
really
was
good.
Anton Yelkin's last movie,
film?
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
So Green Room's at on. Where can I get that?
I believe it is Netflix available.
Oh, it's Netflix available. Okay. Well,
Well, there you go.
there you go.
Tom with the movie recommendations.
Yeah, he's like, hey, if you need to Netflix and chill, here's Tom's.
Nope, not that
I
one.
wouldn't chill on that one. However, you can Netflix and chill with X-Men Apocalypse because
Hey.
you don't actually want to watch it anyway, so you're good. Just put that on and let the explosions cover everything else.
I actually didn't have the same problems as you, Justin, in your issues with the movie. My
What?
one issue
Logan?
with Logan.
Oh, here we go.
My
Here we
one
go.
issue with
This
Logan.
is what I'm ready for. I want it. You're the deciding factor.
Was
Tom.
taking the cross at the tombstone, her taking it off,
Turning
it into an X, and that was the final shot. I was totally on board with pretty much everything in that movie up until that moment. I was like,
I thought it was cool.
There you-
I liked it.
High fives right here, guys. Okay, here's what happened.
I thought it was lame because you know what it reminded me of?
What?
Stuff flying into the ground and forming an X.
Well,
And
so,
X-Men
but
Apocalypse.
that's
X-Men
dumb.
Apocalypse. Because it is dumb. You don't.
Yeah,
We all get
but
that it's
this
an X-Men movie. You
was-
don't
well,
need to
but
go out
this
of your way
was
to create an
poignant.
X.
But especially they established the fact that they had the comics in the real world, which I thought was a pretty cool
Oh
touch.
yeah, we didn't even talk about that.
Yeah.
That's pretty
So
great.
she was an X-Men fan, so
Very.
it actually makes something. It actually makes sense to her.
Yeah, that's exactly
to
what I
do
was
it.
going to see. That's
And
how
the-
she saw him.
And if you know Wolverine stuff, the actual cross doesn't mean anything to him.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Fair enough.
So that's I was actually hoping when I
saw
that,
her. I saw her go to move it. And I was like, I think I looked at Justin and was like, oh man.
It actually made me so happy because I was like, it's kind of like you're closing out. For me, I don't know if you know. So for me, it's like you're kind of bookending this series of X-Men films. You end it on the cross, the X cross, and the first ever X-Men movie from 2000, when the 20th Century Fox logo comes up. When it fades off, the X is still a little illuminated. So it was kind of neat. The first movie starts with the X, and then the last one kind of ends with the X,
as it should be.
as it should be. Because
I respect your guys'
Yeah.
opinion. I just I was fine. Like X-24, I was like, yeah, it's not my favorite, but I get it.
I want you to submit
Adamantium
to
Bullet.
my
I was
opinion,
like,
though.
good for you guys for at least trying to make it make sense.
but it
'cause
wasn't
X-Men Origins
jokey
Wolverine.
either, though. It didn't. See,
No, and it
if
didn't
it was
need to
like
be.
a
Nothing in that needed to be
Like-
because it was a joke in and of itself in X-Men Origins Wolverine. That was a joke. Like, why doesn't Wolverine recognize everybody after he's met everybody already? Oh, because of that, right?
yeah, that's dumb.
This it was like, hey, if that bullet actually gets used, this is what would probably happen most likely, and you're not coming back from it.
Well, we don't even know for sure that he's not coming back from it. They left that
Fair
open
enough.
too, because
Yeah.
Yeah, they just walked away from the
depending
body.
on how
Like,
his
oh.
healing ability works,
He
he
could
could
have been
actually
like-
come back.
He's like, oh, maybe
Walk it off.
He just won't remember
maybe-
any of them, and he'll be a good guy
Right.
Wolverine.
check this
There you
out.
go.
Maybe Professor X's essence is still in there, kind of how it was in 3, and he just found the new body. Maybe he moves Logan's essence and spirit into the younger X-24 body.
But he did that how?
And you get Professor X Wolverine combo.
I don't know.
Professor X with Wolverine.
He'd
claws
just be
would
Professor
cool.
X, like the dude Wolverine
He'd be
Hulk is coming,
Professor Weapon X.
right? He'd really be Professor X.
Professor Weapon.
Professor.
The sad thing is that's not even the stupidest thing that's happened in the X-Men movies.
Oh, yeah,
gosh.
no.
You know what happens
that would
to
be-
a toad that gets struck by lightning? And you're like,
incredible.
what is she gonna say? The same as everything else. Oh.
That was the stupidest one.
Thanks, Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon wrote that line.
No.
The person everyone says he's the best. He wrote that line.
We
Well-
all have our clunkers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's too bad. I did like bringing up the comic book stuff. I liked that aspect of it, that it was treated as like this thing where, what do you say is ice cream for bedwetters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, maybe a third of it happened and not like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that was great because I felt like it was, in a way, kind of like poking fun at the other movies, honestly, to be like, yeah, that's not how it actually went down.
So it was funny, and I felt really stupid because you know how they're like, this is the coordinates, this is how you get to Eden, right? And so when he's in the car and he's like, he's at the bar, he's looking at the comics, and he's like, what the heck? So I'm thinking, see, it's real.
Yeah.
Instead of it, she got it from a comic. I'm like, the comic
went with
legitimized
it's
real. I went the whole other way of like, see?
Yeah.
And so then I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, I had a whole different reaction. I was thinking like either someone well, it was more of like someone cleverly put the coordinates in this comic, and that was the way people knew where to send like the mutants for safety. And anyways,
You know what? Logan,
I was off.
Yeah. You know what Logan did the most of in this movie? I was thinking about
What?
napped.
Oh.
You realize how many times like he woke up from like that
Naps.
was like your cut to a new scene was Logan waking up. Like that
Tired.
happened a lot.
Yeah, he started in a nap, and
It's just like, hey, like it makes sense. He's getting a little older. He's like doesn't have a recliner to do it in. So
well,
he's just doing
he's
it on
over
the go.
100 years old.
Well, I can attest that as you guys get older, the naps become much more important.
Yeah, 100% more naps in this Wolverine movie.
Than any,
Yeah,
Logan has
X-Men
more
Origins not
naps
enough-
than
not
any
enough
other
naps.
Wolverine movie.
I thought the comics was a great touch. Are you guys fans of the Marvels book that came out?
Oh, yeah.
20 years ago.
Oh,
I guess
yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
Just that idea of what it's like to be a normal person in a world filled with superheroes. I always thought would make a great story, and the fact that they acknowledged that people knew who they were and did it as comic books, I thought was a great touch.
Oh yeah, because someone would capitalize on it, and that's the thing. Like they have no control really over. Like I'm just talking about. I have a comic called Tom Mays,
Yeah.
and I'm just talking about a guy who may look like you.
Yep.
I mean, there's probably some legal precedents, but when you get into like, secret identities and things like that.
Well, and when you're saving the world, you don't have time for
yeah,
copyright infringement.
yeah. And I love the little boy who had the Wolverine doll at the
Yeah.
gravesite. Like he must have carried it around in his backpack or something. Like that's someone's hero.
With the
Yeah.
cool original blue and yellow costume too.
Yeah, the tiger stripe, man.
Yeah.
I like that. I thought that was good. So I want to see those characters again. I don't know in what it would be, if it was going to be like X Factor, or I don't know what they would call it.
Yeah, I
Or
mean they could just take that group of kids that made it up to Canada and
New
do a whole
Mutants.
new movie.
Yep.
the New Mutants.
Well, New Mutants was always, I think, had great potential for. Like earlier, I said I don't like origin stories, but this
Yeah.
would be different because what you would do is you would actually have the story set up of them learning how to use their powers and work together as a team.
Yeah.
That's interesting to watch. So I think finding out what they
Yeah.
do once they're all together would actually be a good movie.
Yeah, I don't necessarily hate origin stories, but I do think if we know the story, like just do it in the credit sequence,
Right.
And we're good. Like
Yeah.
bit by a spider.
Or every time they relaunch it. Yeah, Spider-Man was the same example I was going to make. Really,
Yeah.
how many times are we going to go through the Spider-Man origin story over and
Yeah.
over again?
So they say we're not getting it again, but okay. So we'll get some final thoughts on this movie. So for me, my general thing is it's a gotta go because of the historical significance. If I was just being super critical, I would just give it a regular let's go because it's not bad. It's super entertaining, but I don't think it's. I think there's a lot of hyperbole out there surrounding it. So that's my rating.
I'd say don't let the hype turn you into a hater.
Hey,
It's a gotta go for me.
There you go.
Great performance. Great. It fits great into the overall X-Men story. Better
Yeah.
than most of them. And I think people who wouldn't normally go see a comic book movie should go see this one.
Yeah,
Not for the little kids.
Oh, yeah,
People
yeah.
stop bringing your kids to R-rated movies.
yeah,
Please.
serious.
I would say my closing thoughts would be this is Wolverine for the
Yeah.
first time.
Wow.
That's what it felt like. I actually, a friend texted me and asked me like just my general thoughts on it. I was like, in Back to the Future when they go, that sound you've been looking for? Well, listen to this. Like that's how I feel about this movie. Like, hey, everything that Wolverine should have been the last 17 years,
Yeah.
we got there.
Yeah.
We got there finally, and I felt like that alone makes it worthwhile, even if the movie itself wasn't shot so beautifully and acted so well. Like I would still say it would be worth going. But
Yeah.
I think all those things come together for me for a gotta go. If you've been turned off, and rightly so, by any other Wolverine movies, give this one a shot because it's going to be worth your time.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's got the payoff. So thanks for that. So I'm going to put this on there. So we're going to hold Tom to this. It's not going to be today, but it'll be another time where Tom is going to fix the Fantastic Four movies.
Oh, I've got so many great ideas. Marvel,
stay tuned.
Fox, whoever ends up owning it, give this fat old guy a call. I can fix your Fantastic Four movies.
That's right. I think a lot of people can fix. I'm so excited to hear your thoughts because I think we all might have thoughts on how to do it because it's almost a no-brainer. It's
Well, now you're trying to take my job away from me.
no, not at all.
Don't take it away
Not
from
at all.
Tom.
Not at all.
Let him
I'm
speak
gonna.
for himself.
I'm just saying. There's so many. All the thoughts I've read about it and seen online have been 100% better than anything that's ever been
Well,
executed.
there's nowhere to go but up.
It's like, how do you mess this up? How do you mess this up?
We thought there was nowhere to go but up before the last one too.
Yeah, and there it is.
And we found Mole Man somewhere down there digging down.
Oh, man.
I do think maybe before we go, like a lot of talk coming out of this, and similar to when Deadpool had some box office success, is kind of this wave of like the takeaway for some people is just more rated R superhero movies.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that's. I think that's missing the point.
Yeah.
I think it's crafting stories that make sense for the character you're trying to tell a story about.
Yeah, I don't think that. I feel like again that's a lot of people just it's conjecture like that's
It's
what they're
reaction.
saying and.
Well, I'm not saying what studios are saying. I'm just saying general reaction.
Yeah, I think that's just it's not a well thought out idea. If someone's like, yeah, we're gonna make more R-rated movies, if it fits, then do it. Like you just there's certain characters that you don't need to put in an R-rated movie.
Make a good movie.
Yeah,
and if
make
it needs
a
to
good
be
movie.
rated R, then make it rated R.
If it's like, oh man, no, we have to cut arms off. Okay, then rated R. But there's no need beyond that.
Or I would say continue to explore the medium of the Netflix option, like they've been doing with Daredevil, right?
Yeah.
You can stretch the story out. You can bring a lot more to it. Then the rating isn't nearly as important as giving it the space it needs to do things the right way.
Yeah,
It's true.
But the action comic books, the Avengers, I think those should always be available for everybody.
Yeah.
But if you want to explore a lesser known character, Daredevil's not lesser known, but what they're doing with bringing some of the characters like Deadpool that aren't known to most people, take a chance on those. Do something different because that's going to be a niche audience anyways.
Yeah. And that's why I think the biggest takeaway for me with, I would say, Deadpool and Logan, and if anyone out there is watching the TV show Legion, I would throw this in the mix too, where it's different. Like you're crafting a unique story for what you're trying to communicate, and you're not trying to copy a template or feel or look of other things. You're saying, this is how this story needs to be told. And I would say that's the biggest thing with any movie, but especially with comic book movies. Don't just because it's been done one way, that doesn't mean it needs to continue being that way. And just because someone chooses to do something different doesn't mean that's the new normal that you need to emulate either.
I see both sides of it. I see the desire to see a character you're like done in a way like, man, like Wolverine, like we were saying, he slices and dices, right? But on the other side, he sells toys. Like little kids want to buy, Wolverine toys, like, when they're available. And it's hard to say, well, what a good example, Batman versus Superman. My kid wanted Batman versus Superman toys. I did not take him to see that movie because it just wasn't good for him to see, right? So I've since cut my own copy of that movie. He can watch it all he wants. It's just the stuff that he wants to see. There's none of it doesn't make sense.
Nice.
Which some people may say the other one didn't make sense.
But
Would it be funny if you end up with like an amazing 13-minute version of that movie?
It's a little over an hour. but that gave him all he wants is to see his characters.
Right. Future podcast idea. Maybe throw this out to people. All the tweets and stuff that you guys get. Who's your lesser known character that you think deserves their own movie? If you're going to take a chance, who should the next, Power Man or Luke Cage or, don't answer now. Think about it. Future podcast.
No, that's a great idea.
I already know my answer.
Me too.
But we'll say it off air.
Shoot, we're taking Tom's job. He's taking our job.
I know, right? I guess this is Let's Go Tom.
Turnabout's fair play, my friends.
Let's go Tom show.
Yeah, there we go. The Let's Go Tom show. All right, so Matt, we're about wrapping up. Thank you, Tom. How do you get at us if you want to give us some information? How do we do that? How does that work?
You can find me on Twitter at Matt Ritchie, MatTRichey. But I'll go ahead and wait for you to hit me up. I'm not going to seek out everybody listening to this.
Well, what about if I wanted to get in touch with the Let's Go podcast?
Well, that's what I was setting them up for, and set and
whiffed.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to get in touch with us, you can always visit us online.
This is not just about me, I promise.
You can visit us at www.letsgocast.com. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Let's Go Comic Show and Facebook at facebook.com/letsgocast. You can find me at J_Rocca on Twitter. Matt is...
At Matt Ritchie, MATTRICHEY.
Yeah, and Tom, if people were like, man, that guy sounded really good, how could they send you a little message?
If Marvel and Sony want to reach out to you.
Well, I have that
Fox,
Twitter.
they
Fox is like, hey,
They can
guys.
hit me up on that Twitter at _GeekTom, GeekTom. All things Fantastic Four script related, role-playing games, painting miniature figures, eating lots of food. Hit me up.
There you
Boom.
go. Thank you, Tom, so much. It was great to have another guest on the Let's Go Comic Show.
Oh, so excited to be here, guys. Thanks.
Awesome. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.